Hello everyone, especially to you ma'am. Good day. Our topic is cycle of matter, carbon and oxygen cycle. So, recycling of matter. The way matter is recycled in the ecosystems is similar to the way the metal in old cars is recycled, like the supply of metal for building cars. The supply of matter in an ecosystem is limited. If matter could not be recycled, ecosystems would quickly run out of raw materials necessary for life. Energy, on the other hand, is not recycled. You must constantly supply a car with energy in the form of gasoline. Ecosystem must be constantly supplied with energy, usually in the form of sunlight. Gasoline and sun's energy cannot be recycled. They must be constantly supplied. So what is matter? Matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms. Combinations of two or more atoms chemically bonded together are called molecules. For example, a molecule of water consists of two hydrogen atoms bonded to one oxygen atom. In this section, you will learn about some of the most important cycles of matter: the water cycle, the carbon cycle, and the oxygen cycle, and the nitrogen cycle. The water cycle. The water cycle is the continuous process by which water moves from Earth's surface to the atmosphere and back. The process of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation make up the water cycle. So, as you can see in the image, no, mo nang water cycle. Evaporation, the process by which molecules of liquid water absorb energy and change to the gas state is called evaporation. So, condensation. As the water vapor rises higher in the atmosphere, it cools down. When it cools to a certain temperature, the vapor turns back into tiny drops of liquid water. The process by which a gas changes to a liquid is called condensation. So, the last one is precipitation. As more water vapor condenses, the drops of water in the clouds grow larger and heavier. Eventually, the heavy drops fall back to earth as a form of precipitation: rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Most precipitation falls back into oceans or lakes. The precipitation that falls on land may soak into the soil and become groundwater. The carbon cycle and oxygen cycles. Two other chemicals necessary for life are carbon and oxygen. The process by which they are recycled are linked together. Carbon is the building block for the matter that makes up the bodies of living things. It is present in the atmosphere in the gas carbon dioxide. In this process, the producers use carbon from the carbon dioxide to produce other carbon-containing molecules. These molecules include sugars and starch. To obtain energy from these molecules, consumers break them down into simpler molecules. Consumers release water and carbon dioxide as a waste product. So, carbon cycle. The movement of carbon from one area to another is the basis for the carbon cycle. Carbon is important for all life on Earth. All living things are made up of carbon. Carbon is produced by both natural and human-made anthropogenic sources. So one of nature's carbon sources is found in the atmosphere, mostly as carbon dioxide. Animal and plant respiration place carbon into the atmosphere. When you exhale, you are replacing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Also, you can find carbon in the lithosphere in the form of carbonate rocks. Carbonate rocks came from ancient marine plankton that sank to the bottom of the ocean hundreds of millions of years ago. They were then exposed to heat and pressure. Carbon is also found in fossil fuels such as petroleum, crude oil, coal, and natural gas. Carbon is also found in soil from dead and decaying animals and animal waste. And also, Carbon is found in the biosphere, stored in plants and trees. Plant uses carbon dioxide from atmosphere to make the building blocks of food during photosynthesis. Carbon is also found in the hydrosphere, dissolved in ocean water and lakes. Carbon is used by many organisms to produce shells. Marine plants use carbon for photosynthesis. The process, the organic matter that is produced becomes food in the aquatic ecosystem. Natural carbon released into the atmosphere. Carbon is released into the atmosphere from both natural and man-made causes. Gases containing carbon move between the ocean surface and the atmosphere through the process called diffusion. Volcanic activity is also a source of carbon into the atmosphere. So how do humans place carbon in the atmosphere? Humans place carbon into the atmosphere in a variety of ways. One of it is deforestation. When we cut down trees and forests, they can no longer remove carbon dioxide from the air. This results in additional carbon dioxide placed in the atmosphere. Wood burning. When we burn wood, the carbon stored in the trees becomes carbon dioxide and enters the atmosphere. So the last one is combustion of fossil fuels. We extract fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas from the ground and burn them for energy at power plants. The burning of fossil fuels is called combustion. Fossil fuels combustion releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
Oxygen cycle. What is oxygen cycle? Oxygen cycle, along with the carbon cycle and nitrogen cycle, plays an essential role in the existence of life on the earth. The oxygen cycle is a biological process which helps in maintaining the oxygen level by moving through three main spheres of the earth, which are atmosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. The atmosphere is the layer of gases present above the Earth's surface. The sum of Earth's ecosystem makes a biosphere. The lithosphere is the solid outer section along with the Earth's crust, and it is the largest reservoir of oxygen. Stages of the oxygen cycle. Stage 1. All green plants during the process of photosynthesis release oxygen back into the atmosphere as byproduct. Stage 2. All aerobic organisms use free oxygen for respiration. Stage 3. Animals exhale carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, which is again used by the plants during photosynthesis. Now, oxygen is balanced within the atmosphere. Uses of oxygen. The four main processes that use atmospheric oxygen are rusting, decomposition, combustion, breathing. Breathing. It is the physical process through which all living organisms, including plants, animals, and humans, inhale oxygen from the outside environment into the cells of an organism and exhale carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Decomposition. Decomposition, it is one of the natural and most important processes in the oxygen cycle and occurs when an organism dies. The dead animal or plants decay into the ground, and the organic matter along with the carbon, oxygen, water, and other components are returned into the soil and air. Combustion. It is also one of the most important processes which occur when any of the organic materials, including fossil fuels, plastics, and wood, are burned in the presence of oxygen and release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This process also requires oxygen. It is the formation of oxides, which is also called oxidation. In this process, metals like iron or alloy rust when they are exposed to moisture and oxygen for an extended period of time, and new compounds of oxides are formed by the combination of oxygen with the metal. Production of oxygen. The leading creators of oxygen are plants by the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a biological process by which all green plants synthesize their food in the presence of sunlight. Sunlight also produces oxygen. Some oxygen gas is produced when the sunlight reacts with water vapor in the atmosphere. Of oxygen cycle. As we all know, oxygen is one of the most essential components of the Earth's atmosphere. It is mainly required for breathing, combustion, supporting aquatic life, decomposition of organic waste. Oxygen is an important element required for life. However, it can be toxic to some anaerobic bacteria, especially obligate anaerobes. The oxygen cycle is mainly involved in maintaining the level of oxygen in the atmosphere. The entire cycle can be summarized as the oxygen cycle begins with the process of photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight. Release oxygen back into the atmosphere, which humans and animals breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, and again linking back to the plants. This also proves that but the oxygen and carbon cycle occur independently and are interconnected to each other.
So mora to guys, pero kung wa mo kay kasabot ato mong gibasa, nami pakita nga short video. Hope na mo nga makasabot man eh.
The air around us is made up of many different gases, including oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and inert gases. Oxygen and carbon dioxide in particular are important for the survival of living organisms. The amount of these gases in the atmosphere is maintained by the carbon cycle and the oxygen cycle, respectively. The carbon cycle is the cycle that maintains the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by continuously taking carbon dioxide from the air and releasing it back into the air. When green plants undergo the process of photosynthesis to make food, they absorb carbon dioxide from the air. The carbon element stored in plants is then transferred to animals that eat the plants. When plants and animals die, their dead bodies decompose and release carbon dioxide back into the air due to the actions of fungi and bacteria in the soil. In addition, all living organisms, including plants and animals, release carbon dioxide into the air through the process of respiration in their entire lifetime. Over a long period of time, the bodies of dead organisms become fossil fuels, which are used by factories, power stations, and vehicles. The combustion or burning of fossil fuels also releases carbon dioxide into the air. In summary, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is maintained when photosynthesis, which is a process that requires carbon dioxide, is balanced by decomposition, respiration, and combustion, which are processes that release carbon dioxide. The oxygen cycle, on the other hand, maintains the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere also by continuously taking oxygen from the air and releasing it back into the air. Like the carbon cycle, The processes that require oxygen, such as respiration, combustion, decomposition, and rusting, are balanced by photosynthesis, which releases oxygen back into the air. Many human activities, such as illegal logging and the excessive use of pesticides, interfere with the carbon and oxygen cycles. The consequences of this interference include global warming and the greenhouse effect, which may eventually cause fertile lands to become dry. The ways to reduce the interference with the carbon and oxygen cycles include planting more trees to help reforestation, stopping the burning of fields and forests, preventing the excessive release of smoke from vehicles, avoiding the excessive use of pesticides, banning illegal logging, and making tougher laws to protect the environment.